to throw it. And put your hands up in the air if you this shit and know it. Got money in your pocket, then take it out and throw it. And put your hands up in the air if you this shit and know it. Got money in your pocket, then take it out and throw it. And put your hands up in the air if you this shit and know it. Got money in your pocket, then take it.
We're welcoming Sam to the podcast this week because I feel like Sam has a really unique story on his fitness journey into CrossFit and his journey throughout his CrossFit competition days and where he is today. So Sam, do you want to go ahead and tell us your fun story of how you got into CrossFit and what your fitness journey looked like prior to?
I've done CrossFit since like 2011, 2012 probably. Quite a long time considering I'm 26. So before that, I didn't really have, I played sports and whatnot growing up. And so I remember walking down to the gym, to Gold's Gym, with my dad when I was getting ready to go into middle school to do a little bit of strength training for football, because that was probably the most physical sport that I would have played. Just played basketball and baseball growing up, a little bit of soccer. And then kind of throughout middle school and whatnot is when I got into CrossFit and training in that style. And then from there, especially after high school and being done with sports, the competitive side of CrossFit was pretty appealing, to still be able to have that outlet as an 18 to 20-year-old kid. You feel like you need something, but I wasn't going to go play rec basketball or find a football league or something. And so CrossFit was kind of that for me, to channel a little bit of that competitive itch, I guess. And at a certain point, I couldn't really tell you when, maybe 2018, 2019, it kind of clicked or shifted from all right, I don't want to just, I'm not necessarily trying to compete, but what can I prove to myself? And if that comes in growth of competition, then cool. So it's kind of how that got to be.
So you actually went the competitive route, right? Who do you coach under currently?
So, right now, I just kind of work out. I'll jump into our affiliate class at the gym or a couple other programs that I know people that run. But for the longest time, from about December of 2019 until, I would say February of 2022, probably. No, 2023. I worked with Kinsey Riley and Misfit Athletics. So I got to have a good relationship with those guys and that team. I recommend them to anybody that asks. But yeah, I was very fortunate. I've had a lot of good relationships and experiences with people, which have helped me connect with other coaches and athletes in the sport at a pretty high level. So I'm pretty fortunate in that regard.
So what made you want to reach out to Kinsey and Misfits and go that route into competitive?
2016, I think it was. But I had no idea what I was doing. So, and there's been a little, I say a little bit, the kind of shift within CrossFit, the sport side of things, is changed a whole lot since around that 2011, 2013 timeframe, at least in my perspective. Because you had a lot of people that in those early days, they saw what Rich Froning was doing as an individual, and volume, and just, doing 10 workouts a day. So Rich was a big thing for me as a kid, and getting into CrossFit.
When it comes to bulking, people think I could go eat all the McDonald's and Burger King I want. What's some good bulking advice you have for people that's kind of confused on it?
Bulking should still be clean eating.
Hands up.
Get out there, move your body, stop making excuses.
Like the sports side of things and seeing it on ESPN and stuff. And so that was all I knew. Like watching YouTube and watching how Rich worked out. Like, and I didn't understand anything about programming or strength training or accessory work. It was just like, oh, the only solution is let me do 10 workouts a day. And so that's what I did kind of on my own from like 2016 to 2017. I had no idea what I was doing. And then I actually trained with and lived with Logan Collins for a while. He was a big development in a lot of my growth athletically as well, physically and mentally. And then from there, it was kind of, Kinsey had posted something on Instagram, I believe it was, and I saw something about nutrition from her, and I just reached out to her, and we started working together in a nutrition capacity. And so in 2019, it was, I was roughly like 165, 170. I'm like 5'9", so I'm not very big. And so I had people telling me that at that level of the sport, like, hey, you know, if you want to compete at any level, you got to get a little bit bigger. And Olympic lifted 5 times a week, twice a day, and ate about 30s to
That'll do it.
Kinsey had told me, you know, hey, I'm going to have some remote coaching spots with Misfit available in the upcoming year. In 2020 is when I get started. And so her and I just kind of started working together in that capacity. And then just went from there.
So, you made it to quarterfinals. I'm sorry if I get this wrong, but did you make it to quarterfinals or the games?
Yeah. So I in 2022, I've made quarterfinals in all the years that they've implemented that structure. But 2022 was probably my best opportunity to advance to qualify for a semifinal.
I wanted you to talk a little bit about your injuries and what that did to your mental state, being so close to hitting your goal of getting to the games and having to sit back and watch it on television instead. What does that do to somebody in your competitive mind frame when you work so hard all year long and then end up with such a big major injury? And what does that do to your mental state and how do you come out of that?
Oh, yeah. I think
The tough one.
yeah, I think I'm still coming out of that, actually. I've been pretty hit or miss or inconsistent, I guess you could say. So in 2022, that week of quarterfinals, it was a Monday. And the way that structure is, at least it was that CrossFit would release six to seven workouts on, I think, Thursday. And so you would have Thursday through Sunday to do them. And so I had already had, this was March of 2022. In September of 2021, I'd already had a knee scope on my right knee to repair a torn meniscus. Gotten cleared and started training in November of 2021, full speed. And pretty much the plan was to go through the season, train just like normal, compete in quarterfinals, and then look to where what we would need to work on in the off season of 2022 and in the summertime to really push for it in 2023. And then things just kind of started progressing because I trained alone in a garage for all of that season. And at a friend's house, they would train with me in the mornings maybe, but then for the most part, I was 2 sessions a day in the garage.
All right, up next, we got Heber versus Paula. Come on, Heath! Faster!
take a fall, take a shot for you. I need you like a heart needs a beat, but it's nothing new. Yeah, I loved you with the fire red, now it's turning blue. And you say sorry like an angel, heaven let me think was you. But I'm afraid it's too late, too late, I said it's too late.
Started getting a little bit more real around like January of that year of 2022, where I was like, hey, if I can execute well and the workouts line up really well for me, like there is a potential that I could qualify for semifinals. I was in the garage. We were just kind of going through some primer stuff, you know, light workouts, a little bit of lifting, just make sure that the body was ready to go. Just a heavy single for the day, like I said, kind of just make sure that everything was firing. And as I was warming up, when I was split jerking, my left foot went back, and I heard a pop, and I felt a pop, and I knew exactly what it was. I'd torn the meniscus in my left knee, and so I I dropped the barbell, and I don't remember if I think I texted Kenzie, and I was like, "Hey, I don't know what you're doing. This is a Monday or Tuesday night," and it's like, "Hey, whenever you get a second, like text me or call me." Or no, I texted Kenzie, and she sent me back in Charlotte. I live in North Carolina, her and her husband. And she sent me back a picture of like a flight of beers or something because they were about to go to a concert. And I was like, yeah, I hate to ruin the mood. It might have been like Justin Bieber too. I was like, I hate to ruin your mood, but I'm pretty sure I just tore the meniscus in my left knee. And she was like, are you serious? I was like, yeah. Sure. So I kind of closed everything up, and then I went to the doctor the next morning, and yeah. So that was challenging. So it was March of 2022. Semifinals that year were in like May. I ended up not having surgery until right around the first week of semifinals. And kind of the more challenging thing about it was like I'd already had the same exact surgery once before. And so I knew what the recovery process was going to be like. I mean, I tried to do the workouts for quarterfinals that year, but they had pistols. One of them had pistols in it. And so, like, I went to the gym and everything. I got warmed up, and I did one pistol on my right leg, and then I went to do the pistol on my left leg, and it was like I squatted to a 30-inch box. Like, I got about that high and then just rolled over.
Yeah.
Because my knee was just so inflamed. And I was like, well, because, I mean, we had the mindset, like, we had talked about it. Kinsey and I had, you know, Monday night, Tuesday morning, I'm like, hey, don't panic. Like, because when I tore the first knee, the first meniscus, that was in August of 2020, and I didn't have surgery until September of 2021. So I kept training. I took like a month off, 2 months off of certain movements, but I kept training. And so like we knew that in theory I could do some things, but you know, 48 hours afterwards, everything's so inflamed and full of fluid, like I couldn't. And so I ended up having surgery about a month and a half later. And it was the challenging part was sitting at home with my foot propped up, watching, because like I couldn't unplug from it. You know, I'm still gonna watch. I still have friends in the sport and all that. Like I'm gonna watch and support the Misfits and the other people that I know, and watching people compete. And that's not to. This is all kind of in hindsight too. Like the workouts that year for quarterfinals probably lined up really well for me in that year. That's not to say that I would have made it or anything, but also watching some friends that I had trained with and knew like, okay, we have similar times or numbers, whatever it is, like to them, watch them compete, and they took, like top 10 or top 12 at their semifinals. Like, all right, well, that instills some confidence because I wouldn't have gotten, had I qualified, I wouldn't have gotten last, you know.
So I just encourage everyone to get up and move in any capacity that you can. You don't got to be at a gym, and it don't got to be anything extravagant. Just move your body.
Looking back on it now, I wish I'd have slowed down because I jumped straight back into training as if nothing had happened. And so with the CrossFit season, like is if you watch the people at the games compete, they're incredibly fit. They're at that level of fitness for like 2 weeks probably. It's just not sustainable for your body. You're not going to be that fit year round. And like I know that, just like every other sport, you know, every other sport has an off season. CrossFit's is kind of weird because you have all those out of season competitions. Kinsey could have sat me down. Anybody could have sat me down and said, "Hey, this is the worst thing you could do right now is jump back into trying to train as if you're going to compete at a semifinal in 2 weeks." You know, like it just wouldn't have made any sense. But because of that, I went right back into it. Well, I moved and changed jobs, so I had a lot of fluctuation going on in life naturally. And then from there, whereas I used to be in the garage in the gym every day, 4 or 5 hours a day probably, to where it was like I don't even want to go to the gym twice a week, because I felt so I don't want to say slighted, but mad really is probably the best word. Anger, because you work so hard, you put so many things on pause. And like with CrossFit's a hobby. I have a job, I have a career.
Right.
I'm not gonna make money doing CrossFit most likely unless I like hit the jackpot somehow and have some secret talents that I have yet to find in my 12 years. But like I'm not gonna make a living off of doing that. I might make a little bit of money here and there, right? And so because of that, it was almost like, well, you know, what am I doing? I've wasted all this time because I put so much into it and I put so many other things in life on pause. I've let, you know, some relationships suffer or work suffer in some capacity because I've been so hyper focused on this goal, to where now like everything and nothing to show for it. And so that was a big mental hurdle because like I said, you spend so much time on one thing and then all of a sudden, just like that, it's gone. And I was like, well, I don't know if I want to play this game anymore. And so fortunately I had some friends through Misfit that that winter, I think it was like September or October of 2022, when I was like, yeah, I'm out of it. I can't. That they had reached out to me and asked if I would want to do do Team of 3 for Wadapalooza in Miami. And so we qualified for that, and I was like, you know what? At the very least, this will keep me going through January, and then I can reassess from there because I don't want to show up to this and be the worst one. I don't want to let the team down, you know. And so that was good. That kind of kept me engaged for a little bit. And then we took third at Wadapalooza. And then from there I was like, all right, well, I still got it. But mentally I don't have it. Like I can't get engaged for the season right now. It was I want to say that was February too, and I kind of reached a lot of that conclusion.
All the flavor bitches say I'm delicious. I'ma have all you motherfuckers laying in the ditch. I'ma kill all you rappers, I'ma aim with precision. They was rocking with your ass till they made it.
Yo, what up? Baka'z man here.
I was like, you know what? It's February. I can't get fit enough between now and March to really make a difference in my year. Like I'm just gonna sit this one out. I'm gonna give my mind and body a break because I've been going at it for a while with not a lot of time off or to think about kind of what's going on. And then from there, I took that time. And then now, just kind of exploring. Like, I've moved to Fort Worth, and we've talked about trying to put together a team for the CrossFit season. But from there, I'm just like, you know, I enjoy where I'm at right now, and out and what it brings me. So
I think it's really important because when CrossFit athletes, especially those at the games, you know, they get injured, like Brooke Wells just hurt her elbow a few years ago, and you don't really see their struggle personally, right? You have to go read her book or whatever. And so I think some people look at y'all like you're this myth of a creature that, you know, you get hurt, but you immediately jump right back on the horse, right? And you don't necessarily talk about the mental struggle that goes with it. And when I first met you, we were both kind of going through the same thing because I was going through that mental struggle with my strongman competitions and being injured and not being able to compete at nationals and not wanting to go to the gym and all that. And so like we kind of had that commonality, and it's something that some people just don't understand. You don't talk about it a lot, and they just like, I think it's important for people out there to know that even those at such an elite level, you get hurt, you can have that mental breakdown where you don't necessarily want to go to the gym. Like that's a real thing. And even the elite athletes can feel that way where you don't know that this is right for you anymore, or you get in kind of a depression cycle of I want it, but I can't do it, kind of, you know, I can't make my body go anymore.
Right.
And so like I really wanted you to share that story so that people out there know like this is real. People go through this struggle, and it's not as simple as, oh, I'm fixed now, let's just hit the road again. You know, it's not that easy. There's a lot more to it that a lot of people struggle with. You just don't talk about it.
Mark's going to take on Eric. They're going to do a handstand race, a crouching 4, come back here, touch 4s, straight to the end.
My nigga been hustling, trying to make him something. Ain't no telling he'll do for the paper. Ain't no telling. Souffle, I'm straight, I stay, my plate shot.
I just enjoy fitness. You know, you see so much of like, oh, you should do like bodybuilding or CrossFit or running or what. Like at the end of the day, I think just in general, people need to do something. What I'll tell everybody is like when they look at a workout, and let's say it could just be something like a mile run. You know, they're intimidated by somebody ran a 6-minute mile, and they're like, oh, I can't run a 6-minute mile. And you're 100% is a 10-minute mile. It's all relative. You're still running just as hard as I am, but your capacity is not where mine is at or where Jim Bob's is at, whatever, right? And so I think that's a big misconception that I've seen. I know CrossFit as a company tries to promote that of like, hey, you don't have to get fit to try CrossFit. CrossFit is what makes you fit. And if you can separate the sport from like CrossFit health, that's a big thing too. Because CrossFit sport is not sustainable. It's just like, I'll compare it to if you watch, you can watch any other professional sport. If you watch, it's Sunday. So if you're watching football and you're watching what those guys do, you're like, man, well, I don't want to go play in my 7-on-7 league anymore because I don't look like that. Like that's the comparison, Yeah, obviously you're not going to run a 4.40 and make all these fantastic catches, but you're not a professional athlete. Like,
right.
You're doing it because you enjoy it and it's good for you, versus like for some of these athletes, it's their longevity. It's their livelihood. And so, yeah, they're going to go do 3 workouts a day and they're going to have 2 strength sessions or whatever it is, however their program is structured. But like, if you just want to work out, if you're just looking to be healthy, then 60 minutes a day of a class setting with a warm up, maybe a strength and a cardiovascular conditioning piece, you're going to be fine, and any good competent staff or coach is going to be able to say like, okay, I'm going to meet you where you're at. You might not be able to do a pull up or whatever this movement is, but we can break this down. We can walk it back. It's like, all right, we're going to do a ring row, and they should be able to make it less intimidating. Because that's kind of my thing, I don't really buy in or believe into the whole idea of like, oh man, CrossFit's too hard for me, or I don't want to be a games athlete. Well, cool. Like I have a road bike, right? Like I'll go and bike for an hour when it's nice. Like today, it's a really nice day. I might go bike for an hour after this, but like I'm not trying to win the Tour de France, Like you can go do CrossFit and you don't have to try to be at the CrossFit Games. So
right.
Hallelujah.